check, check. Hey, I'm on. Hello, everyone. I'm going to be talking about how to improve development environments with virtualization. As a minor side note, I will also be talking about, that doesn't work, putting that away. I'll also be talking about how to improve slide layouts with shorter titles. Because if it takes 3 lines, it really doesn't look very good. Something I learned as I was making the slides for this presentation. As a quick note, I am not the speaker on the schedule. If you're here for Moonlim's talk on React.js, I am not Moonlim. I will be talking about something entirely and completely different. Those responsible have been sacked, and a new talk has been put together at great expense and at the last minute. Who I actually am, my name is Luke Sneeringer. I am a software developer at Ansible. We do server orchestration. You may have heard of us. There was a talk on Ansible by my colleague James Camarada yesterday. I'm married to Megan, who is sitting in the second row, and is also the best wife ever, and I live in Texas. There we go. OK, so I'm going to talk real fast about the landscape. Where are we? What am I talking about how we can improve? So the landscape. Sadly, it's not that one. Different kind of landscape. How many of you have started a new tech job in the last few years? Almost everybody. OK, so you go to your new job, and what does your first week look like? It probably looks like getting your computer, filling out your HR forms, and at some point, you are assigned to work on a project. And you go to your coworkers, people that are already there, and you say, I need to set up a development environment for this new project. And what you often get kind of looks like the Homestar Runner version of technology. Like, you will need a few days to get your development environment up. Or, oh, documentation, we need that. It's just bad. It's amazing how much time can be wasted as you try to just get going. And then you go and look at your GitHub tickets, and someone says, it works on my machine. And none of these things really want to make you like blast off fireworks and sing the Hallelujah chorus and be like, yeah, this is awesome. That's not how things should be. And so we should fix it. We should make it better. And when it comes to making development environments, there's a few standards of things that it seems like we ought to have for things to be working well. We should be having development environments that mirror production as much as is reasonably possible. It should be that our development environments look and run a whole lot like our servers, our production machines. If we're making a desktop application or a script or an executable or whatever, there shouldn't be any factors that make the development run differently, except for things that are intentionally developer-specific, and we'll get back to that. It should be low cost. If you do something to screw up your development environment, you should be able to just blow it away and make a new one. And the last thing, has anyone ever tried to develop on machines that are exactly like your production machines? You can go make a cloud server that looks exactly like your production machine, can be in the same place, NYC2 or whatever location on the same provider. It can look exactly like it, but you know what? It really, really, really starts to suck to develop that way. Because your development starts to look like, OK, I'm going to SSH in, and then I'm going to do all of my development in Vim and keep everything together in LS, and it's just really not very fun. And of course, every single time you make a change, you have to right quit out of Vim and sudo service nginx restart or uwhiskey or whatever server you happen to be using. If it's a script, then it's a matter of running it in the right environment and resetting your environment variables and all that kind of thing. And when do we want it? Well, now. Why? Because that's the meme. So really, why do we care about this? What's the purpose of doing this? And as I thought about that question, I really came up with 3 things, which are the 3 things on the slide: portability, consistency, and reusability. I'm going to talk very briefly about each one. Portability, that's that new hire situation. You come as a new hire to a new company, it would be nice if you could just have a setup and it would just work. And portability is what gives you that. It's, yes, we already wrote this code to set up a development environment, and all you have to do is install this program and run this. And run this thing. And you, too, can start actually working. Consistency we've already talked about. Consistency is there shouldn't be differences that make it so that it works when I'm writing in development and breaks when it's running on production machines, when it's the thing that the customer is using. And reusability is I should be able to do this often. I should be able to blow up a box and make a new one. I should be able to get into a pristine state, because when you're hacking on things, you get out of a pristine state. You have to do things differently to see what works. Reusability lets you pull back into a pristine state. And this concept is really usable everywhere. It's usable, most of my examples are on server-side applications because that's where I'm the most familiar. But really, this isn't a concept that's restricted to that. A desktop application can run off this type of situation, scripts, executables. There isn't really a case where a virtual environment doesn't make sense. And so I'm going to talk about how to use them. So a quick bit on tools. There's quite a bit of tools to do this kind of thing. In what example code I have, I picked a couple to explain, but I'm not trying to push that this is the only tools to use. I'm trying to push the concept, which is why we're at 10 minutes into the talk, and I've really only talked about trying to sell the concept to you. Probably the most popular tool for actually doing virtualization for development work specifically is a tool called Vagrant. Vagrant is a wrapper around other tools, most notably VirtualBox and VMware. There's a couple of competitors. There's one called Boxglyph and another called Vortex. I didn't know about the former of those when I wrote these slides, so I ended up with a slide where every single thing just starts with a V, which, well, fine. It's convenient. I figured I would get at least a good laugh for that thank you in the back. There's a lot more provisioning tools available. So there were several talks yesterday on various different provisioning tools. James Camarada gave a talk on Ansible. Noah Kentrowitz last year gave a talk on Chef. There was a talk this year on Docker. There was a talk last year on SaltStack. These are things that are well known. The purpose of a provisioner is to get things into a particular state. I'm going to come back to this in just a moment, but at this point just say there's several tools to use this. You are hopefully already using this concept in your production environments for actually giving your code to the ultimate client, to the ultimate customer. And so really, it should just be a matter of taking this and making it useful for development as well. I'm operating under the assumption that many, if not most of you, have already gotten into the world of provisioning for production use. If you haven't, I highly recommend looking at some of the talks that were given yesterday and last year on this topic, because I don't have time to do anything other than barely scratch the surface. And by the way, the only reason the King of Town is on this slide is because I felt I needed a picture. So again, trying to pitch provisioning. The purpose of provisioning is to get a machine into a defined state. It says, I don't really care about all these other aspects of a machine. However, these things are things the machine must have. This is the state that it must be in. How do we define the state? You know, presence of the code to run, presence of objects installed, certain configuration being set, all those things. It should mostly match how you define state in production. And therefore, in order to get a lot of value out of what I'm talking about today, probably you already need to have production provisioning done. It doesn't really make sense to have development provisioning if you don't have production provisioning, except for the fact that if you are just trying to get into this world, using development provisioning can be a very low-risk, low-cost way to get your feet wet. And then after that's been established and working, then it can be ported to production. That is a valid and sensible way to go. So why do we need to just run a generic server-side application? Well, we probably need 3 basic things. You need to install software that's not Python-based. Your web server, if you're a web person, your whatever else, your firewall, your blah, blah, blah. You probably need to install Python packages because one of the reasons why you use Python is not to reinvent the wheel. So installation of Python dependencies, creation of your virtual env, all that kind of stuff, and then configuring all of the above is the last thing you need to do. Pretty much no matter what your application looks like, you probably are doing all of these things. Even if you're creating a desktop application or a script, you're probably doing all of these things. As far as virtualization is concerned, it's really, really, really easy to make a cloud server and provision it. There's a bunch of them. There's a bunch of services that will let you go do something that looks like this. Go make me a server. I'll pay $5 a month for it. And look, I have root on a very tiny box. And I can go do all my development on that. But the problem is it's really, really, really painful to actually do work on those things. It can be done. You can use NFS to sync folders and all that kind of stuff. You could do magic rsync scripts with reloads. It can be done, but it's not fun. It's pretty painful. And the problem is, working in production environments is painful. And it actually should be, because we don't want to be hacking in production. But if we're trying to take these production concepts and port them to a development environment, using environment kind of in a double way there, then we have to get rid of that pain. And in reality, as much as I said that development should mirror production as much as possible, there must be some differences. Really, at least 3. 1, you need to be able to code locally. Because unless you are very, very, very loose about what your personal preferential environment looks like, you probably are very, very picky about having all your macros set up in a particular way, all that kind of stuff. And so you need to be able to work locally. You need your development environment to know that it's a development environment. An error that gives you lots of information, including like your database credentials and whatnot, is really, really, really bad for a production system, but it's really necessary for a development one. If something goes wrong in production, you want to say as little as possible and have all the information go to the logs or to somebody's email. If something goes wrong in your development system, you want it in your face with as much information as possible so that you can solve the problem as quickly as possible. And the last thing is responsiveness of tools to changes. When you actually save a new file, you want your servers to reload and get those changes. And there's a few other nice things that are good to have. Flexibility of environments. If you're working on a tool that runs in multiple states, say an executable that needs to run in multiple different distributions of Linux or on both Windows and Linux, that's absolutely something that you want your virtual environments to be able to cover. You want to be able to make a virtual environment in every necessary distribution. And the ability to share. So I should show you some code. So first of all, the tools that I'm choosing to discuss are Vagrant and VirtualBox. That isn't to say that they're the only tools. They're just the tools I'm going to talk about. Vagrant projects use the Vagrantfile. This is specific to development. It doesn't have any mirror against production, which is very useful. And if you're smart about the way you write your Vagrant file, there's no reason why you can't commit it to version control. It defines one or more machines, and it defines a provisioner. A machine is basically a virtual machine that it should create, and the provisioner is the tool, the third-party provisioner that you're going to use at your shop, such as Ansible or Chef or Fabric or whatever else. So let's look really quickly at what defining a machine looks like. I'm not going to keep this code up on the slides for a super long time. Mostly this is a conceptual talk. You can look at vagrantup.com to get the documentation for this. But basically, we're going to define a machine. We need to know what operating system it needs to run. We need to know a few things like what IP address it's going to have within our local environment world, and then how much memory it's going to have. Provisioning looks similar. I'm going to spend a little bit longer here. So you say what provisioner you need to use with this funky Ruby DSL. And one of the nice things that you can do is you can do things like define a couple of extra variables. And this is a place where you can start to tell your system that this is a development box. It shouldn't act quite like a production box. Notice I have, as part of my Ansible extravars, development equals true. Well, now, whenever I'm running my Ansible playbooks, which obviously are able to create a production system, one of the things that they can do is in any template, they can say, well, if development, do this slightly different thing. I want all my production stuff. I want everything to be working the same way it's working in production, except this one spot. This one spot should be different because I really don't want to shoot myself in the head over the pain. Well, where do we stand at this point? Well, now you can vagrant up and provision a production machine, and then you're sad. So let's talk about how to do differentiation. Most likely, you probably don't want to be shelling to your virtual environment to do your work, because that's the kind of pain that you want to get away from. Vagrant provides a way to synchronize a folder between the host machine, your desktop that you're sitting at, and your guest machine, which is vm.synced folder. So this is one way that you can now have a local code on your virtual environments. You use whatever editor, IDE type of thing that you want to use, and as soon as you make a save, that save is reflected on the virtual machine. For development awareness, the easiest way that I found is provide a development flag to your provisioner. And then it's really easy in your provisioner to, when you're configuring your tools, say, I need to configure this tool to be in a development state. The example I used is just something that looks like it comes out of a Django settings file. It says, hey, if I'm in development, then I want to set debug to true. Responsiveness to change runs on the same principle. If you have a service type tool, most of them have mechanisms to reload themselves if something changes. You just have to turn that configuration on. All that is required for turning that configuration on is configuring it slightly differently if you're on your development machine than if you're on your production machine, and make it respond to that development state. And there's several advantages to thinking through it this way. Again, if you have a system that runs in lots of environments, virtualization is great for that. If you want to test how your system will run in a low memory environment, virtualization is fantastic for that. If you are trying to test and figure out what changes are going to have different effects from the operating system to your program, virtualization is great for that. And it's a very, very low risk, low commitment way to do it, because at any point you can just destroy what you've done and start over. And another advantage is, if you're willing to spend some money, Vagrant makes it very easy to share your box with other people. So I'm going to come back to a philosophical point that I've been driving repeatedly, which is development should behave exactly like production. There should be no differences between development and production when possible, except when it's too painful, at which point it should be different, but only there. And the reason why you only want it to be different there is because any difference is a possibility for an inconsistency in your work. However, sometimes it really is too painful and it should be different. And since this was put together at great expense and at the last minute, that's all I have, but I would be happy to take questions for a few minutes. I will note that more Luke equals less Guido, who is coming after me in the keynote room. So I'm only going to take questions for a few minutes, and then I will try to let you all out early.
If you have questions, please come to the microphone. As always, your response must be in the form of a question.
Thanks, Luke. So could you give me an example of what's too painful?
So the question for the video is, give me an example of what's too painful. My biggest pain point in that kind of situation is things that don't auto-reload. It's really, really, really painful to have a situation where I need to save my file, go reload my server, run the thing to check it, go make a change, save the file, reload the server, run the thing to check it. That reload the server step shouldn't be there. That's an obvious example. Another one is I know that there are some gurus, but I don't do all of my day-to-day editing in something that will run on a shell prompt like them. I love them. I'm not trying to start a religious war. However, that's not my personal preference. I want to be able to use my local desktop tools against my VM. Yes?
Can you make a comment on performance of Vagrant, say, versus native?
Can I make a comment on Vagrant versus native? My experience is that I have not done anything that's been interesting enough to do performance testing on. Usually what I'm after is making it closer to my production environment. So my desktop has 32 gigs of RAM, which is very different than any of my servers. So, but I'm sure that native is a little bit better, but I don't have a lot of experience on how much. Yes?
So I know you can map directories from outside to inside the VM, like your source directory inside the Vagrant machine, so you can work on it live. But what about when you need to go the other way? Like you need to PDB through something in site packages that you're trying to troubleshoot, and that would be inside the VM.
Sure. So the question that he asked is, what about when you need to go the other direction? What if you, what about things inside the VM that you want to pull out? The answer is that gets really tricky, especially if you have a difference in the OS inside versus outside the VM. You can't just pull something from site packages on, say, an Ubuntu VM onto your Mac. Now, if it's Ubuntu, then that will work a little bit better. But that's tricky. There's also it also gets tricky when you need to run scripts that create files, like say make migrations. That kind of situation can get really hairy.
Great. Let's thank Luke again for that last-minute save.